today's episode, I summarize Huberman's talk on tools to bolster your mood and mental health. There's a lot of information in this episode, so I've decided to summarize it into 2 separate videos. This episode focuses on the basics, the principles of mental health self-care that applies to all of us, universally, regardless of age or specific diagnoses. Huberman boils these principles down to the big 6: sleep, light, movement, nutrition, social connection, and stress control. This talk dives into the ways that we can optimize these pillars to promote our own mental health. Part 2, just for reference, focuses on the additional tools beyond these 6 pillars that help us to manage feelings and emotions, tips related to things like trauma, our unconscious mind, and the internal self-narrative. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Sinan, GP and longevity doctor, helping you live better and longer. Let's get to it. Sleep is the cornerstone of your mental health, and everyone has their unique sleep needs. While the general guideline is to get about 6 to 8 hours for most adults, some might thrive with 5 hours, while others, like growing kids or those recovering from an illness, will need more substantial periods, ranging from 9 to 12 hours. Maintaining great sleep is a little bit like maintaining optimal fitness. It's not a one-time achievement, it's an ongoing process that demands attention and care each night. Sometimes life does get in the way, but make no mistake about it. The goal is to consistently achieve high quality and high quantity of sleep. We can do this by approaching sleep as a daily investment in your own well-being. Just as you wouldn't expect one intense workout to transform your body or transform your physical fitness, a single night of great sleep doesn't create lasting benefits. It's the cumulative effect over time that matters. Try and go to bed and wake up within about an hour of the same time each day. This helps to really regulate your internal clock, and it improves the duration and the quality of your sleep. And do avoid late afternoon and evening caffeine, as it can really disrupt the ability to fall asleep. Approaching sleep as a continuous journey rather than a quick fix is also crucial from a mindset perspective. If you have an off night, don't let it derail you. Instead, focus on improving your sleep habits the following night. This consistent and intentional effort significantly influences your mood, energy levels, and your ability to stay focused throughout the day. We've got a protein in our retina called melanopsin that responds not only to color, but to the overall brightness of light. Very bright light, either natural or artificial, activates cells projecting into specific brain regions that uplift mood and overall well-being. Make sure you try to see sunlight as early as possible after waking up. If the sun isn't up yet, turn on the indoor lights until you can step outside. Face east, blink to protect your eyes, and avoid staring directly at the sun. Aim for about 10 minutes or so on cloudy days and extend it to 20 or 30 minutes on particularly overcast days. If you happen to miss a day, make a conscious effort to double the exposure on the next day. If you happen to live in a place with minimal sunlight, consider investing in a bright light source. There's even something called SAD lamps, and these can be quite a good substitute when natural sunlight is scarce. These also help to regulate your body's natural clock. If possible, get sunlight throughout the day. It's not just about the morning. Light exposure, even from artificial sources, has documented benefits for mood and mental health through the day. Light in the day is great, but it's also important to have complete darkness at night. This, we know, independently improves mental well-being, completely unrelated to light exposure. Do start to dim the lights early in the evening and aim for total blackout at night, and avoid light in the night if possible. This can negatively affect your glucose levels in the morning. Pay particular attention to phones and watches. One of the most underrated treatments for low mood and anxiety is exercise. It literally works every time. The problem though is motivation. When you're in a bad headspace, it can be difficult to get going, let alone exercise. If you can though, aim for about 180 to 220 minutes, 3 to 4 hours of zone 2 cardio each week. This is the kind of movement where you can still have a conversation. Additionally, if possible, once a week for about 15 minutes, try something more intense that gets your heart rate really high, like running or cycling or swimming, whatever suits you. Huberman also recommends exercises for each muscle group, some type of conditioning, using things like weights, bands, or machines. Remember, try and mix things up. You don't have to do cardio and resistance training on the same day. It's also important to take at least 1 full day of rest per week, maybe even 2, depending on where you are in your journey and your body's needs. The key takeaway takeaway here is that movement isn't just good for your body. It's fantastic for improving your mood and mental health. The research on that is crystal clear. I was a little bit disappointed with the recommendations in this section about nutrition, as they're relatively generic. I didn't find them particularly useful myself. He basically talks about the importance of avoiding overtly processed foods, focusing on nutrient-dense food that helps to achieve micro and macronutrient goals by any means possible. It's agnostic to dietary modality or feeding pattern, whatever it takes to have good quality food without having too many calories. He also mentions that food isn't just for body repair, it's also the foundation for neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. These neurotransmitters, crucial for mental health, are actually derived from amino acids found in the foods we eat. So limiting food too much doesn't really do us any favors. I'll be looking to summarize a 3-hour talk between Huberman and Chris Palmer, where they exclusively discuss the role of diet and mental health in much more detail. There's some great tips in that one, so keep an eye out for that. Our nervous system is shaped not just by our experiences, but also by interacting with other people and even animals. You will know this intuitively, but it's worth remembering, as we can often forget how impactful the good and the bad people can be in our lives. This is rooted in neurobiology and psychology. Practically, it's really important to take notice of the interactions that leave you feeling drained, stressed, or negatively affected. Try to distinguish between interactions that are draining, neutral, or provide a resilience boost. Reflect on the people or the groups that leave you feeling drained and try to minimize those interactions and try and spend more time with the resilience boosters. The boosters can lead to metabolic and neurochemical resilience that can last for days and days after the original interaction. Do pay attention to your internal dialogue too, especially after interactions. If you ruminate on negative interactions, it's crucial to limit those experiences. Look at who contributes to a positive internal dialogue for you and get more of this in your life. Actually thinking about your social connections can be quite difficult, but it's time well spent. A lot of people who really turn their lives around really start by looking at their connections. Surround yourself with boosters and stack the well-being deck in your favor. If you don't, you'll constantly be swimming against the tide. In life, stress happens to everyone, whether it's good or bad. Stress is a part of daily existence. It affects our memory, the immune system, and generally our overall health. While stress can sometimes push us to perform better, chronic stress which persists for days and weeks, is not good for us. To manage stress, having effective tools is really important. There are 2 types of tools that can be helpful: real-time tools to reduce stress instantly, and long-term strategies for overall well-being. A simple and effective tool is the physiological sign, a natural breathing pattern. Here's how to do it. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Before exhaling, sneak another brief inhale and then exhale slowly through your mouth. This technique taps into a neural circuit in your brain and it calms us down rapidly. It's really handy for situations like public speaking or wherever you need that instant stress relief. The best part, it's free, it requires no special skills, and it works pretty much every time. The goal here isn't to necessarily eliminate stress, rather navigate it more effectively. Diet, hydration, and physical activity can reduce stress hormones and trigger the release of natural endorphins. Practices like mindfulness and meditation train your mind to focus on the present, reducing stress and anxiety over time. This is when you increase your capacity to manage stress by boosting adrenaline and noradrenaline levels. An example of this is deliberate cold exposure. This is when you expose yourself to cold water and your adrenaline rises immediately, causing stress and faster breathing. In this zone, controlling yourself in this environment through breathing and staying calm serves as a brilliant training ground and translates to better stress management in real-life situations. Huberman talks a little bit about drugs in this episode, especially their role in helping the brain rewire itself, known as neuroplasticity, but it's not really the focus of his talk. If anything, he states that medications can be useful to help optimize these 6 core pillars, as well as helping with day-to-day function, and engaging with other relevant treatments such as therapy. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, try to make change. Don't just consume information. I make these summaries action-oriented and easy to understand, so it's easy for you to follow. So if there is something, even one thing, ideally one thing that you can do today or tomorrow, aim to do it. An extra brownie points if you can focus on your weakest areas. This is where the biggest gains lie. Mental health, just like physical health, to get it right is a lifelong struggle. Don't be afraid to seek help. I often see people in clinic who struggle for years and then feel 100 times better after just one consultation. Don't suffer in silence. Help is out there. Thank you so much for watching. Do let me know if there are other topics you'd like summarized. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Till next time, stay healthy.